from the Crypt.
What is up, freaks? Welcome back to Tales from the Crypt. It's your boy Marty Bent. Saturday morning coffee podcast. Coffee, drinking coffee, on and off. We can't get in here at night all the time. I'm very excited for this conversation we're about to jump into. This is somebody I've been following on Twitter since 2013, I believe. 5 years. Lurking in the bushes, just watching him tweet about crypto. Finally get to meet him in person. Excited to have him in the studio. I'm sure some of you, probably most of you, if you're on crypto Twitter, know him. I'd like to introduce you all to Carpe Noctem.
How's it going, guys? It's good to be here. It's good to know about YouTube creators, podcast creators, because I know how it is. We'll get to it, but I know how it is starting out. You're screaming in the wind, basically.
Right?
Until you get somebody to signal, like, hey, this guy's doing something real.
Right?
Check it out. So
yeah.
So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
An inspiration.
Oh, come on.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I always tell people, listen, I'm just some guy who has been here a while. Like, I'm nothing special, honestly. Like, I imagine most people, when you meet your hero and it's like a complete letdown. Like, that's probably every interaction with me in real life.
You're living up to expectations so far. So
okay.
Stay on this pace and you'll be good.
All right. Sounds good. I brought the Tether shirt today. You can't see it, obviously, if you're listening, but
there's no need to be upset.
I always keep one ironic crypto shirt on me at all times, just in case something goes down.
Just in case you have to hop in a podcast booth.
Right.
So let's talk about it. You've been around for a while. Main topic I want to talk about with you in particular is crypto Twitter.
Yeah.
It's been an anomaly that's been growing.
Yeah, it's been insane, man.
Some would say a cancer that's been growing on the internet for the last 5-6 years.
I don't disagree with that. It's gone from like what is it where it's like non-spreading cancer, like not metastasizing. It was like a lipoma in the beginning. It was just this thing that grows somewhere, and now it's like fucking pancreatic cancer. It's everywhere. It's crazy.
It's everywhere, and it's evolved a lot.
It has, in not good ways, in my opinion.
Why do you say that? Like, let's talk about the good old days. What were the good old days like?
Yeah, let's talk about the good old days. The good old days were like 2013, 20 guys, Whale Club, all anonymous for the most part. This was a TeamSpeak chat. It was like, I found it on like Reddit, Bitcoin Markets subreddit, which back then was also very decent and useful and vibrant. Now it's more like just a giant shit show, like everything else. But
I think every Reddit subreddit, crypto-related subreddit is
yeah,
accessible.
but even the Bitcoin subreddit was like amazing. Like, I'd go on there every day and like check like what's going on, But I rarely visit it now.
I don't go on it unless linked to it to read stupid things.
Yeah. So I don't even know how I think I discovered Bitcoin a little bit through Reddit, a little bit through Slashdot, a little bit through a buddy of mine who was into Litecoin super early. And so I was connected to Reddit anyway for like Diablo 3, like video games, So like, let's see if there's any Bitcoin stuff on Reddit, and there was, and found this TeamSpeak channel, and then I was hooked. I don't know. Like, I was hooked because I knew nothing about anything. I knew nothing about trading. I knew nothing about computer science, economics, nothing.
That's what I was going to say. What was your background? You weren't a trader?
No. Biology. So
yeah.
I tried to get into med school 3 times, failed. So here I am.
It's not a bad fallback.
Yeah, it's been okay so far. But yeah, to know like where things were then and where I've been as far as just completely rerouting my whole life course, it's insane. But so yeah, from there was like just TeamSpeak just grew exponentially. 2014, towards the end of 2013, 2014, sort of died off
with the market.
Yeah, and then there was some like
you were one of the few to stick around during the dark days.
Yeah, I was. It was weird. I'd watch an Andreas video and just buy more Bitcoin. Like, I would dollar cost average all the way down,
right?
And just say, I think this is going to be a thing. I drank the Kool-Aid, every day, and it was a gamble, giant gamble, and it paid off. I don't know, like it was weird.
So what was it like getting into trading? Obviously the gains probably drew you in, but you are very methodical with your trading process. I would say.
Yeah, I think when I watch people do something and I have no clue what they're doing, I'm like drawn to it for some reason, like a moth to a flame. Like, I just want to know more. So I was seeing all these people doing all this trading stuff, and I had no clue. And so I just started Googling everything and like learning and listening. And a big part of it was talking to people on TeamSpeak who knew way more than I did.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a key now for people. Like, find a community with not necessarily one person, like a guru, but like people who you can talk to and bounce ideas off of. Because for the most part, if you don't know what you're doing, it's very difficult.
Yeah, you're running around blind.
Yeah.
It's a very vicious world. I tried altcoin trading before.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
I don't have the emotional capacity to trade. I get too emotional.
Yeah, I treat altcoins more like investing, where it's like I'll just buy the lows and sell it later. Like,
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to the charts really.
No.
The stuff I'm like trading. I'm trading on leverage. I'm trading these high volume, high liquidity, high market cap stuff. Not like I don't know, like clams or something.
So, what can we dive into here? We can take this many ways. I want to focus on crypto trading Twitter in particular because, like you said, it was it's a very, like, people are willing to give back if you approach them in the right way.
Sure, yeah.
Right? Like, if you're looking to learn something, you just have to be able to approach somebody in the right way. And 9 times out of 10, they'll be willing to help you out. I feel like a lot of people like try to take advantage of that and annoy a lot of like the OGs, if you will.
Yeah, and that's when I start getting salty, and then everyone's like, "You're salty," and then I'm like, "I get more salty." Like, fuck you. Yeah, so Twitter sort of was always in the background. It wasn't in the beginning. It definitely wasn't like this huge thing that it is now. But it sort of evolved between like TeamSpeak. There was Slack. There was IRC. There was Telegram, which is huge now. There's Discord, but all the while Twitter was like remained constant.
Right.
All these other things, you need like specific permissions, or you have to know like how to get to certain places for like channels. You know,
Yeah, there's some exclusivity.
yeah, there is. In Twitter, you have to know what you're looking for to an extent, but there's more openness as far as, you know, everybody's just shouting in the wind, right?
Yeah.
So you can just follow whoever. Follow Friday's huge, obviously, for that, but yeah.
If you get a Carpe Noctem #FF, that's a huge deal.
the rare. You know, it's become to the point where I have to like be conscious of what I'm tweeting because there's so many people.
Well, they'll accuse you of moving markets.
Yeah,
right?
like no matter what I'd say, someone's gonna be like the other day, like I tweet about EOS and XRP. I think they're both complete nonsense, trash. But I'm gonna trade the chart. Like,
yeah. So let's get into that, like trading the chart versus like, so I'm a butt mad Bitcoin maximalist that hates altcoins.
yeah, I listened to your Ari podcast before this. I always do my homework on these podcast people because you never know what you're walking into. You know?
Things get cosmic on this podcast sometimes.
Yeah, and I connected with you on that Bitcoin maximalism. You know, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist masquerading as a profit maximalist.
I like that description.
Because I'll trade anything, but what I believe in, like my heart of hearts, no chance I believe in most of this garbage.
And let's get into that. So EOS is launching today. Why do you think EOS is garbage?
I don't know if it's garbage yet, but can you believe in anything that raises $4 billion plus?
$4 billion in a very sketchy way.
Goes to all these road shows in the U.S., even though they're not allowing U.S. investment.
Yeah.
Larimer's got a giant rap sheet, if you will, as far as projects, BitShares and Steemit.
But he's launched 2 successful blockchains.
Yeah, people say that. People say, like, look at the transactions on BitShares, and like
they're all robots. You were tweeting about that the other day, weren't you?
Somebody was.
Somebody
but
was.
I was probably retweeting it. Yeah, it's like, are they organic? Are they of any actual value? Like, if you look at the median median value of those transactions, I'm guessing it's like less than a penny.
Yeah.
If you've tried to use their DEX on BitShares, I mean, they were revolutionary in that respect, but you can't. I've tried. Like, it just doesn't work. So I don't know. I mean,
and then Steemit, like.
I mean, yeah. So Steam is probably more of a thing than most things.
But the economics of Steemit, like, just aren't there, right? Are they?
I think the total coin, what is it? The total number of coins or whatever I think is just way too high.
Yeah.
But I think it sort of needs to be for that market to make sense, like to use it as upvotes and downvotes or whatever. And they're kind of just like ripping off Medium now.
Yes.
Because they like reskinned and everything just looks like Medium, right? The blog site.
Do they have claps yet?
They probably. I won't be surprised if they have like a non-value like voting system soon. I don't know. Like I think that's where they're headed. I don't know. Like I don't use Steemit. I've tried to like post my shit on Steemit, and it's just like too much of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I don't go on Steemit either.
Yeah,
Medium's free.
Exactly, Medium's free. There's like a component where you can monetize your stuff, but for the most part, it's free.
Yeah.
That's very new for Medium, the monetization thing. But it's like, why bother? That's the biggest problem with all these projects. How do these projects create a network effect to where they have value?
Well, to me, it seems like it's a bunch of solutions looking for a problem.
Definitely.
And trying to replicate Bitcoin's success. But I don't think it's going to happen. Like Bitcoin was so organic. And I do believe in the immaculate conception of Bitcoin.
We can listen back to this like 2 years from now, and like EOS is like a powerhouse. But
no, well, I had Joe Looney on here, the dude who started Rare Pepes a couple of weeks ago.
Okay,
and he described EOS as like the polar opposite of Bitcoin. Like if the market decides that it wants complete centralization, like a completely non-decentralized network with a blockchain on it, then EOS is the perfect thing.
Well, there's so many things with EOS that aren't even in stone. Like it's like a giant lava field, where if you step on it, you're like, oh, I just burned myself because I didn't know that was changeable. Things like the Constitution, things like
let's talk about the Constitution.
The 21 validator thing. There's just like so many issues.
So in EOS, every time you make a transaction, right, the miner has to hash into the miner that mines the block has to hash the Constitution of EOS into that block.
So I saw that the Panic guy on Twitter posted about that. I've met him in person. He's a nice guy. I didn't know about that Constitution thing.
Neither did I until like last week.
I think it's kind of like dumb and stupid. Like who cares, right? I don't know.
It's just like this is what Bitcoin was created to get away from this shit. And like again, solutions looking for problems. Like you're trying to throw this shit on the current structure under which we live and sort of apply blockchain to our existing political and financial infrastructure, when I think this is just going to like organically create a system parallel that we will eventually transition to. So I think a lot of people are confused out there.
Well, I encourage everybody to watch Brendan Bloomer. He's part of Block 1 of EOS. To watch his pitch like now and then like 6 months from now and see like how much EOS is like shifting away from all those promises of like infinite transactions and like DAX and DAOs and all this other crap.
Has his pitch changed at all over the last year?
I've heard it twice from him, like a few months apart, and it's always been the same. Like, we're going to take over Uber, we're going to take over Airbnb. Like,
oh my fucking God.
Like that can happen with crypto. I don't think it's going to be EOS, but it can be.
But I don't think number one, like, you're never going to get not never going to get mass adoption, but like normal people are not going to be using this stuff. Like, do you think the crypto community can grow a network effect? Like the UX of using this stuff sets such a high bar, like barrier to entry. That I don't think, like, if you walk on the streets of New York and you're just walking by people, it's like, we'll use Ethereum as an example too. Like that's what I like whenever I'm like walking and talking to somebody like making the case for Ethereum. We're walking down the street, I'm like pointing at people. It's like, could that person use a MetaMask wallet? Could that person use a MetaMask wallet?
I couldn't even use a MetaMask wallet.
Like,
I used it the other day. I was like, the transaction fee thing wasn't clear. Like what? Anyway, but yeah,
it's like nobody's going to be using this shit. Like the people like can barely use Uber and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be deep in the background.
Right.
Many people have talked about this. Andreas definitely, but even with the Visa thing that happened yesterday, like Visa went down. Okay, but they could easily have like a backup system or something runs parallel where it's like decentralized, blah blah blah. Like that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be people like pulling out their phone on a QR code, knowing that it's Bitcoin or EOS or Ethereum, whatever. I think it'll just happen.
Yeah. It's going to take time.
Yeah, but back to EOS. The other problems, they have these 21 validators who they're going to say are decentralized in some manner. That's not a level of decentralization I strive for in my coins that I invest in.
At 21, I don't know. 21's a big number. Your average 6-year-old.
Well, they're going to have backups. The other thing about these 21 validators is they're going to make a massive fuck ton of money on inflation and doing their job of mining, validating, whatever. On like no overhead. They're supposedly supposed to be actually contributing back to the project. I don't know. They're like all these pockets of people. Like Bitfinex wants one, which is weird. New York wants one. There's like cities that want one.
New York?
Yeah, there's like an EOS New York. If you like dive deep into the community, you see like these areas of like physical geographic locations that are popping up as like
And they're just going to pull
hubs for like innovation for EOS or whatever.
God damn it.
And the other thing is Larimer, he's promising like all these transactions per second, and in testnet, like it's only reached like 6K or something.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So we'll see what the mainnet does. I mean, we've been talking to a lot of people about it. I think it'll just crash and burn initially, and the honeypot is huge, right? Like to
hack, yeah.
Yeah, and it's one event. Everybody knows what's going on. Like, I don't know. Can you imagine an exchange like sends the tokens to the wrong address to switch them over somehow, and then they lose like all of the
DAO hacker comes back.
Yeah, like,
now all your coins are mine.
There's some sort of like DNS hijack, redirect. I don't know. Like anything's fucking possible with this thing.
We'll find out in about 8 hours, right?
Yeah, I haven't looked. It was like 30 hours yesterday, but yeah, it's coming up. We'll see. It is pumping though, as we speak.
As expected.
Which was good to see. I hold some EOS right now, just because why not, right?
What does that mean, like holding EOS? You basically hold the ERC20 token, right?
Yeah. Until mainnet.
And that's another thing, like EOS could put a lot of downward pressure on Ethereum prices if they want to unload.
It could have and should have. If they did it the right way, they could have just spun shit around with a fee, this mixer. So Ethereum fees right now are going up. The gas usage is going up. All of this is sort of related to this giant mixer that's going on in the background. Nobody really knows why.
Yeah, what is that mixer? It's like makes up like 90% of the transactions, right?
Yeah,
or at one point it did.
Yeah, that was some like Russian team or German team, like 2017, ran this thing where they found like most of the transactions were mixed. I actually asked them recently to like rerun their analysis because I found it on GitHub. I tried to do it myself, but I'm not like technically inclined like that. So I asked them to rerun it, but it was there in a different language. I don't think they understood what I was saying. But I don't think that's the case currently. It's just recently it just like picked up again. But if I was Larimer, Bloomer, all these people who are like ETH is dead, I would short it. I would fuck with the fee market. Like it's a decentralized thing. You can do whatever you want, right? Do it. Right. Pull the Jian Wu model.
Exactly.
Say like, look at ETH. It's dead. Come to EOS. Right? Look at Bitcoin. It's dead. Come to Bitcoin Cash because the fees are whatever.
Bitcoin Cash fees have been higher than Bitcoin fees for the last 24 hours. People, I don't think
really
you
funny.
know. Not in dollar terms, but in Satoshi terms.
Mm-hmm.
Satoshis per byte. Back to EOS. So Block One, they're basically like the Ethereum Foundation. Would you say equivalent? Different?
I think there's like been some learning between all these projects as far as like how to handle the crowdsourcing of the money. Like Block One, it's in the Caymans now. They have a EOS Foundation, maybe. I can't remember, but everybody has a foundation. Like IOTA has a foundation, and Bitcoin had a foundation at one point, but I think that's very just like legalese to avoid like being sued,
Yeah.
Because EOS is definitely a security. XRP, the security. Okay, it's a security. Period. End of story.
No, it's the standard.
Yeah, I know. It's just so funny to watch them pivot so hard when they know there's like something's coming down.
They just did a redesign, didn't they?
That's the thing. Like it's just this thinly veiled thing where like we're gonna get a new logo from the community because we're decentralized. And then either yesterday or the day before, they released this tweet like hard work of 6 years pays off to release EOS 1 or XRP 1.0 from our decentralized community. Like, just like cramming it down our throats. Like, we all know it's not decentralized.
Where are the first 35,000 blocks? That's what I want to
Yeah.
know. Where did they go?
Yeah, XRP has tons of problems too.
For some reason, that's like newcomers, like the last wave of newcomers. Ripple was like one of their, like, it's going to win. It's going to be $300. People were telling me. I was like, that's a $30 trillion market cap. Like, no, it's not.
When it was consolidating, I've told this story a few times now, but when it was consolidating, I was hearing in these back channels on Telegram, like, all these people in all these random places were asking about XRP, like not Bitcoin, not Ethereum, XRP, like clubs and music venues and like just like conversations with people on the street, like Uber, Lyft, whatever. And at the time, it was really hard to buy. It still is really hard to buy XRP. Like, you can't buy it on Coinbase. You have to get a Poloniex account. You have to get a Bittrex account, whatever. Those were like closed at the time, like to new people. So it was really hard to get, and that was a big signal for me. Like, fundamentally, like, something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Eventually. Like, if anything, like, I believe in technicals above all else, but if I see the chart consolidating and people are clamoring at the fucking door to get in, like, yeah, I'm gonna take advantage of that.
What did it go from, like, 60 cents to $3? Or like
something like that.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, my cousin, my new coiner cousin, was like, Ripple's good future, man. I'm like, all right, good luck with that.
Well, I feel like you're a maximalist of whatever you start with. So, like,
yeah.
There are a lot of Tron maximalists, and like ETH, the Silicon Valley ETH heads are just all over Twitter. But
I'm gonna make a confession that I've been hesitant to make.
Okay, good thing I'm sitting down.
It's very embarrassing. I was a Vericoin maximalist at one point. Proof of stake time, man. It's gonna change the world.
The thing with all these ICOs, all they're doing is trying to replicate the altcoin model. Like,
exactly.
With the crowd fundraising, whatever. Like, how can we make something look like it's a project that's legitimate and get money for it, while at the same time, if it fails, like, the cops can't come after me,
Yeah.
Like, we raised $1 million. We tried. Like, oh well.
Well, it's going to circle back to EOS again. We raised $4 billion, and like Block One and a couple other entities are in charge of basically investing that money in projects.
Yeah.
So they get to pick the winners and choosers. It's completely ass backwards. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I was joking around too. Like, the headlines recently have been like $4 billion project raised on no product or whatever. The next headline is going to be $4 billion project loses billions to hackers.
I was thinking this morning, like, when I was writing down, we're going to talk about EOS, I was like, 4 billion, like, it's the biggest honeypot in the world. Like, it's definitely going to get attacked, and if it does get attacked successfully, it's going to be like a huge shit show in the media. Like,
yeah,
$4 billion just
poof. Yeah, I mean, and that's no reason
to be determined.
There's no reason you can't speculate on that as far as trading is concerned. Because people might say, like, you own EOS, but you think it's trash. Yeah. You own Ethereum, but you think it's trash. It's like, well, again, I'm like, back to the chart. Like, I'll trade whatever the chart tells me to trade, and I'll speculate on mainnet releases all day long. Like, we'll see what happens. Either way, everybody's talking about it.
Yeah. Let's dive into trading a little bit more. The charts, did they talk to you? And how so?
They do. It's like a language I tell people too, but I can't look at a chart without a cloud on it anymore because I'm like, I don't really know what's
the
going
one thing
on.
I wanted to talk about is the Ichimoku clouds.
It's like a handicap now. I just need it to, like, show me. Like, so it's like so I tell people I'm the cloud pope. It gets sent for me from on high somewhere. And
so let's get a little educational here. Let's set the scene. There's a contingent of traders that think technical analysis, TA, is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There's another sect that think TA is very helpful. You fall under that, I would argue.
Uh-huh.
And then, so your favorite indicator, or I don't want to say, is it indicator? Ichimoku?
It's indicator overlay, whatever.
It's the Ichimoku cloud overlay.
Yeah.
So let's dive into it. What is the argument against TA? Why do you believe in it?
Yeah.
And why is this tool important to you?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is like if you don't use TA, what do you use? You can use fundamental analysis or FA, which is the other side of the coin. But the problem with most of this stuff is it's difficult to impossible to actually analyze anything with fundamental analysis.
Yeah.
You can certainly look at wallets and adoption and things like NVT ratio, which is like network value to transactions, which is similar to PE ratios from stocks and blah, blah, blah. Like you can port in all this legacy.
Thank you, Chris Berdinsky.
You can port in all the, and Willy Woo. You can port in all this legacy stuff to do fundamentals, but at the end of the day, part of the reason why I'm sitting here at all is because technicals work so well on Bitcoin because fundamentals don't. And everybody's looking at the same triangle. Everybody's looking at that same trend line all day because they don't know what else to look at. I mean,
so let's tell the freaks out there who may not be trading savvy what we're looking at here on these charts.
Sure. So back to TA. Like, if you don't use TA, that's fine. I don't give a fuck. If you think TA is garbage, I don't give a fuck. Like, you don't need to argue with me about it. I don't care. It works for me. It makes me money. I don't care what you do. Not you, but in general. Because people are always like coming at Noose is another one. He's in New York actually too.
Anthony.
Yeah.
Anthony.
Yeah, he's like, I don't even bother arguing with people in public anymore about that because it's just like
Francis Coppola just wrote an article about it.
Yeah, that was insane. Like,
so Javis tweeted about it last night.
There's like a tweet thread, then it's an article on Forbes now. Like that's how desperate the media is to get something. Yeah, so TA, it works for some people, it doesn't work for other people. Whatever, I don't care. If it works for you, great. Like,
yeah,
I don't need to convince anybody. I don't need to create buy-in. The moment that you buy on a line that you drew or whatever and it works out, like, boom, you're off to the races. Like, that's good enough for me. It's about probability. It's about if-then statements. It's about risk mitigation. So, yeah, that's TA. I first heard about Ichimoku Cloud on, if you know, what's his name? I can't think of his name. It was BTC Vix and somebody else on one of these Google Hangouts, like in 2013. And they said it a funny way, and it was really complicated looking. So it's like, again, like I'm drawn to these things that are super complex. So I was like, what the hell's going on here? I have no idea. Let's look into it. And basically, I am really lazy. I don't like doing a lot of anything ever.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. So what the cloud is able to do for me is to always draw all this stuff automatically so that I don't have to do anything. And that also removes my bias most of the time. You can read the cloud in many different ways, but it helps remove bias,
And how do these clouds work? Like when the price gets a certain distance into the cloud, it's sort of an indicator to reverse trend or...
Yeah, so in general, the cloud is all about finding a trend and making sure that you're in 80% of any trend. So the first step is it a trend, yes or no? And then what's the entry, what's the exit? Like that's where the 80% comes in. So it's not always perfect as far as capturing everything, like it didn't capture 2017 extremely well because it didn't get you out at like 19K or something.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. The point is it captured 80%. And if you look on the weekly especially, like it's captured everything since 2015 basically. Like it's done really well. So that's why I use the cloud. So yeah, there are different ways you can trade it. Like there are things that I've seen work really well, like sort of like cloud fractals, if you will, like edge-to-edge trades, Kijun bounces. Basically, it's just like it creates dynamic support resistance, and then if it breaks certain levels, if it meets or exceeds certain levels, those are actionable signals that you can use.
And you take risk off the table or deploy risk accordingly.
Right. So either it's risk on, risk off.
Yeah.
It's literally telling me what to do without me thinking about it.
What is your risk management strategy? What's your VAR look like?
My VAR, it depends on, there are people who do really well on 100x all the time, right? These are people with a giant risk appetite. I don't think I'd be here since 2013 if I traded on 100x in the beginning,
Margin trading scares me.
Yeah, there's a time and a place for it. I learned how to trade on OKCoin at the time, which 10 to 20x.
Rest in peace, right? They're gone.
They're still there.
Are they?
Still around, yeah.
Oh, I thought they got shut down.
The technically, if you're in the U.S., you can't trade on their platform.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
they're based. I think they're based in Hong Kong, which means they're not barred from the Chinese
firewall.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I learned on margin. If you talk to a lot of people like BTC Vix, like, bring him up again. Him and Flibber, which is some random guy who's not really on Twitter, but he's on
Flibber.
He's on Telegram. I used to call him Mom and Dad. They were kind of like the top of the TeamSpeak at the beginning, and they were very influential for me as far as like learning, because they knew what they were talking about.
And it's funny how Whale Pool in particular, it's gotten thrown into the Tether Bitfinex mix as well.
Yeah, so there was Whale Club, Whale Pool, Stake Pool. Mm-hmm. Like they all like forked based on all these egos that like can't mesh well with each other when things get stressful, which is why like these communities keep getting fractured, and like everybody just goes back to Twitter, you know. Mm-hmm. Like Crypto Picasso, well, you know, people like him will have this like private group and then he'll like disband, right? But he'll pop up again a few years later under a different name.
I'm waiting for Ashdrake to come back.
Ashdrake, yeah. We it's funny, I think we talk about him more now than we did back then. If you're not familiar, Ashdrake was this guy who continually tried to short everything.
He's probably the worst trader ever on Twitter.
Well, there are people who just stayed bear too long.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time and a place to be bear, bull, whatever, but the people are just trying to shove it down everybody's throats, including their own, every time when everything's moving up. It's like, you know, you're going to get bulldozed.
Yeah.
What were we just talking about? Cloud.
Whale Pool in the Bitfinex Tether.
Oh, yeah.
Or Whale Club. I don't know which one it is. I don't know which sect it is.
Just a random comment. You know, there's all these people who have nothing better to do than like speculate and be conspiratorial with each other. You know.
Shout out Bitfinex.
So Bitfinex, yeah.
He's gone, or is he private right now?
No, he's gone. Yeah, definitely. I don't know where he went. I don't know why. There have been some speculation as to why, but I don't know why.
Yes, for the free freaks that don't know who Bitfinex is, he's got a huge Tether conspiracy theory that Bitfinex and Tether are working together to pump the price of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Is there any validity to this statement?
No, I don't think so. No. I can't like give evidence readily available other than they do have a banking account. It's probably Noble. I think Noble. It's probably in like Puerto Rico or someplace. They probably don't know that it's Tether. Noble. That was another thing I've heard. Like,
really?
Yeah. Like the only reason they have a banking account is because they don't know they're actually banking for Tether. But I don't know how you can like have a flow of like millions of dollars and not realize like the point or purpose of what that is. So I don't know. That's all speculation. But
they're getting fees.
Yeah.
The blind eye has been turned in the past.
Yeah. So, you know, his big thing was the entire 2017 run was all pumping on Tether. But if you go back and look at it, things went up and down all over the place based on when Tether was released. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I've never even touched Tether. Have you?
Yeah, it works great.
Yeah.
It's a centralized stablecoin, quote unquote stablecoin, that allows you to use it as a safe haven. It allows you to go back and forth on the exchanges. It works great.
Yeah. Let's talk about stablecoins. What do you think about like Basis and what's the other one that's coming out? Not Status.
There's a lot coming.
Yeah.
I think when they saw the publicity of Tether and like I don't know how Tether makes money. Like Tether, I'm pretty sure Tether is like 2 people, and that's it. Like it's self-sustaining.
Yeah, it's on top of Omnicoin, right?
Yeah, it's on top of Omni, which is sort of off Bitcoin. Yeah, I don't know how all these. So all the stable coins had to make this another coin, like DAO or not DAO, DAI maker.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know all the pairs, but there's the stable coin and then the coin that like supports the stable coin basically. Because by itself, obviously, a stablecoin, unless you just create it out of thin air, right?
Is stablecoin an oxymoron? Is anything ever stable?
The people who know more than me tell me that stablecoins are never going to work. But I think it was Ari Paul. I can't remember who I was talking to.
I think Ari's under that camp as well. Because they're just susceptible to black swans. Like, they're stable until they're not.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they're not, they're never stable again.
Yeah, but they work when for the most part, they work when you want them to work.
I mean, Loomdart said it best. Like all these projects trying to get freaky with algorithms to create a stable coin, and Phil Potter at Bitfinex is just $1 equals 1 tether. pretty Chad, pretty simple.
Yeah, he's actually leaving Bitfinex.
Yeah,
Phil Potter.
That's been the rumor, right?
I'm pretty sure it's public now. Like, I have to be careful what I say most of the time because I'm just in like back channels, right, on Telegram, and there's people who say stuff that I shouldn't say out loud publicly. But no, there was some article I think somewhere that said he was leaving.
No, that came out like a month ago. Said I'm pretty sure. And it was like Bitfinex executive going to start slowly departing.
But if you were a billionaire, right, would you work at Bitfinex?
No. Would you want that stress?
No.
Like Bitfinex fucking tweeting at you and pulling up your audio clips from conference calls like all day, every day.
On TeamSpeak. But no, one thing Tether could do for itself is like do the audits that they promised they were going to do, you know? Like do some sort of audit, anything.
Does anybody know who runs Tether?
It's supposed to be Craig Sellers, but I don't know who it is. Like, I don't know. It's just like this shadow stablecoin that works, and I don't worry about it. I can see where people are getting worried because they're creating millions of dollars seemingly out of nowhere, right? So until it's audited, it's like, is the money there or isn't it there? Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. So yeah, they could use a PR team like of 2 more people or something, you know, and I don't know, but no auditor wants to touch them. Friedman.
Why wouldn't they want to touch them?
I think there's just too much liability, honestly. Like, nobody wants to do anything with crypto.
But what if they audit them and find out that, like, it's fraudulent? Like, couldn't they get rewarded for that?
Maybe. I don't know. That's a good point. But Bittrex just got a bank after how many years, right? Like, it takes a while for these legacy institutions to come...
Let's talk about that.
Come online with all this crypto stuff, you know?
Bittrex about to have US dollar pairs for all altcoins. What does that mean for this market?
I think in general there are too many pairs, too many coins. Yeah. Liquidity is garbage. If you look at Binance, to me, Binance is just a rolling pump and dump because it's like, oh, something's going up. Everybody piles in. Algos pile in. People pile in. And then it's just a ghost wasteland. Yeah. Because there's no active trading.
Rest in peace, Matt Brown's Tron bag. I mean, it's somebody who works here at Barstool got really into Tron on Binance on the run-up in December. He thought it was going to the moon. But
that's been the problem with exchanges from day one. Like, Crypt was the same way. Like, things were just a rolling pump and dump based on whoever was talking about it in some IRC channel, like Will Long with Dogecoin or whatever. Like, that's just how these things work. They're just too many pairs. So I think they need to be careful listing USD pairs. Like, yeah, it's great we have on-ramps for altcoins now, whatever, but I don't think it's going to work out so well. No. When there's a million different pairs. You look at BitMEX, there's like 4 pairs on BitMEX, and there's still shit liquidity on most of those. Like, if you tried to trade ETH-BTC on BitMEX, good luck. If you tried to trade Stellar on BitMEX, good luck. That's why all these exchanges have these contests where it's like, if you trade on the coin, we'll reward you. Like, we'll put you in a raffle to win like 100 Stellar. I don't know. Like, there are all these, like, especially on OKCoin, I see this a lot.
Trying to manufacture liquidity.
Yeah, there's too many exchanges, arguably. There's too many pairs. There's too many coins. Blah blah blah. This is just my old man, talking. But
no, but it's a good point to bring up because it really puts the newer retail investors like at a disadvantage.
Well, how does a market maker deal with all these pairs? I don't know. I don't know how market making really works, like bare bones.
Yeah, but, what's the total? Like, I'm trying to think of the price right now. What the total market cap of crypto is? It's not too. It's like
it's small.
Yeah, it's like 200 million now, right? Or no,
it's like 300 billion. Right?
Yeah, billion. Excuse me,
yeah.
Billion. With a B.
But like, how do these FX pairs? I'm pretty sure there are fewer FX pairs than crypto.
Yeah,
pairs.
I worked for a managed futures fund, and we traded. I believe we capped how many pairs we traded at like 12.
Yeah, because for the most part, most of this stuff is just zero volume. Yeah, zero volume until there's like some announcement, which is why Twitter. You're coming full circle back to Twitter. Like Justin Sun or who the fuck ever just tweets this nonsense about like we're better than everybody else.
We've got a partnership with Alibaba.
Or IOTA. Like, we've got all these great partnerships with all these garbage companies. Not garbage companies. The companies are real. The partnerships are garbage.
And so is their code.
And Ripple's the same way. They're like, we have all these partnerships like every week. I see this like, so I worked for an ICO for a little bit. So in the background, I saw the insidious side of PR and like marketing, and I could see it now with like all these other projects. Like, you get this announcement that's seemingly meaningless, but you spin it up on all these articles on these just junk websites like Cointelegraph.
Cointelegraph, they've got fucking ads in Times Square right now.
Do they?
Oh yeah.
Apparently it's like $8,000 just to get an article listed. Like, they don't do actual journalism. Like, they just charge everybody for articles.
That's what somebody was saying about Tron. They were like doing research on Tron and figured out that every article ever written about Tron was a paid article.
yeah. Which is one reason why I avoid doing like videos or whatever on mini projects. I was just talking to some guy yesterday who's like, have you ever considered like doing reviews for ICOs or whatever? And I'm like, no, because even if I say it's complete trash, which most of these are, all they want is a mention with somebody with a profile so they get views. Like, they don't care.
No.
And I just don't want to be a part of that. So
neither do I.
Yeah.
It's and that's why I write my newsletter and focus on Bitcoin specifically.
It just feels icky, man.
It does.
It's not how it used to be.
No. So are you a Bitcoin idealist? Like, do you see, like, are you in this for sound money? What like philosophically drives your interest in crypto?
Yeah, I think,
other than profits.
I mean, it definitely opened my eyes to a lot of things. Yeah. So I came in with a ton of college debt that I had no clue how I'd ever repay.
Yeah.
Which is why I was tweeting at Peter Brandt yesterday. He was talking about college tuition, how, like, you know, it was, you just get 6 jobs and you can pay your college tuition. Like,
he said that?
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself, Peter Brandt.
So I went after him. But yeah, so I had all this debt. I'm like, how the fuck am I going to pay this back? I'm trying to get into med school. I don't want $300,000 more of debt before I pay off this 50 to 70 grand, whatever it was. So I was like, I was basically desperate. Like, that's how I got here, you know?
Yeah.
Like, looking for some way out. And I had this like small amount of money in some mutual fund. Like, let's go risk heavy and see what we can do. So yeah, Bitcoin has really opened my eyes to like debt, sound money, libertarian ideals. I'm not really like identifying with most of the libertarian stuff, but
yeah, that's one thing. Like, all my family and friends are like, you're like a libertarian heart. I'm like, I'm not a libertarian. I'm just like for sound money. I think sound money is a good idea. And it's like, I don't know what I am.
Well, student debt's like 14 trillion right now.
1.4 trillion.
Okay, 1.4. That's better. All these debt to GDP ratios are super high in most of these countries. Like, there's all these issues that are just like in the background.
Everybody's got their head in the sand.
Yeah,
that's what I want to get Brendan Bernstein on here, because he's had a lot of good like macro fundamental.
Well, your background's economy. Or
economics. Yeah, I studied economics in college. But yeah, with like the debt, like if you look at the debt in the world, it's just, at some point, like, mathematically it's impossible to pay back. Like, if you were to be as productive as economy as you needed to be to pay back the debt, there's an argument to be made they would destroy the earth in the process, like, just like consuming so much.
I can see that.
And so student loan debt, car debt, and housing debt in particular, if you look at them, like, the fundamentals are shit right now. Like, you have delinquency rates is what you want to look at. And so 90-plus day delinquency rates in student loan debts, car debt, and housing debt is going back up. And that's basically what was the tipping point for 2008. Yeah. Was those things going over, people defaulting on those loans, and obviously the mortgage-backed securities falling to shit.
Yeah. Can you do a car loan past 5 years now?
I don't know. I don't own a car. Like, I mean,
that's right. It's in New York, so
yeah.
I know, because I know that was a big deal when that like first started. Like, 5-year car loan, like, that was unheard of, right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I came for the money, stayed for the tech, right? That's what everybody likes to think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, Andreas is a very eloquent and I don't know, like,
persistent.
What he says makes sense to me. I don't
know.
Like, he could be a cult leader very easily. And in some respects he is, because, you know, not a cult, but here we are.
the one thing though, I always question whether or not I'm in a, as you are now too. But that's like one thing. Like I look at my wife, I'm like, we're not in a cult, are we? Or like I'm not in a cult. Like I'm not brainwashing you, am I? Like makes sense, right?
You don't think exactly. You don't think you're in a cult until it's hindsight, right? I just finished watching Wild Wild Country on Netflix.
Say. I don't think we're gonna end up like Wild Wild Country.
I hope not. But the other thing, I was reading this book about like social. What is it, like the mass movements of people or something? I can't remember the name of it. It
sounds familiar.
It was like written in the 50s.
Yeah.
And one thing that was striking to me was the author was talking about people actually, when they believe in something enough, like they will physically move their geographic location. So they were citing like Mormons and Puritans and all these other like groups, these mainly religious groups. But so it makes sense that like we're talking now in crypto about people buying islands and like creating these nations. Puerto Rico is basically already there. Like Brock Pierce and whoever has like this area in San Juan, I think, where it's just like run by crypto people, basically.
Brock Pierce weirds me out.
Yeah, he's a little weird.
He's a creeper. Don't trust the child actors in this space. Rick Creighton and Brock Pierce.
Yeah.
But it is moving that way.
So it makes sense. Like,
yeah.
As crazy as it sounds, like terraforming an island and like and creating a crypto community, like that could be a thing. And then you have a cult compound, right? Exactly.
And that's where you think about like, what was it, the first season of Silicon Valley, the one VC. That was his goal was to build like a floating island. He wound up like dying on it.
Yeah.
And it's just like stuff like that. Like I don't agree with. Like I don't think we should be doing like floating islands and doing all crypto there. I think it's got to be organic. Like Bitcoin's just a tool. That's what people have to realize. Like if you want to hold wealth throughout time, like Bitcoin's a tool to do that. Not everybody needs to use it. It's just one option of many that we have right now. And there's an argument to be made if there is a global financial crisis, more particularly a currency crisis, that Bitcoin just so happens to be a good fail-safe, like in case. Like it's not, we don't need to on-ramp everybody right now.
Yeah.
It's just a tool that can be used.
You don't need to on-ramp everybody. You don't need to make it like this giant thing for commerce.
No.
Like I use it when I can, but I don't go out of my way to use it, you know?
No.
So it's really not like Bcash. Like it's funny to see all these projects just copy everything Bitcoin's ever done.
Right.
Or everything any altcoin has ever done, and it's like the cycle just repeats itself. Like it's all this like rote script that everybody does just to the key. Like it's all straight, like trying to get merchant adoption, trying to get fundraising, trying to get all this other shit, you know?
Bcash is on a Zeta coin tip right now down in Africa feeding children. Have you seen that?
Yeah, eat Bcash. Brian Armstrong talking about that.
Was he?
Yeah. Yeah, Coinbase. I think Coinbase is massively anti-Bitcoin. I've said that before, but
that's been said on this podcast many times. I think it's undeniable. Brian Armstrong pushed for Bitcoin Classic, XT, Bitcoin Unlimited, I believe, as well, and then Segwit 2x.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think his inability to push those through has driven him crazy, and now he's just focusing on Toshi, which makes no sense to me either.
Have you used it? Have you downloaded it? I encourage everybody to download it just to see how much of a joke it is.
I haven't downloaded myself, but I've watched somebody use it, and it was just like,
Yeah, it's a miserable experience.
We've talked about this before on this podcast as well, but like Coinbase, like you had the best opportunity in the world. Just focus on creating the best on and off ramp for buying Bitcoin specifically. Do that really well, and you'll be successful into perpetuity. But he got too enamored by the flashy altcoins and stuff like that their focus, I would say, got sort of derailed, and it has hurt their. I think Coinbase is going to be the MySpace of like the Bitcoin company world.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they have all this money. They're doing all this M&A, all this hiring, and so far, in my opinion, they don't really have much to show for it. They're going after like custodial solutions and institutional investors, but maybe it'll work out down like 6 months from now. When they listed Ethereum, everybody was shitting all over them, but that worked out in 2017 when things went bonkers,
Yeah, but then like their Bcash launch was such a shit show. It's like, wow, I can't believe you're like held up as the bastion of this fucking industry,
which they still haven't answered for. It's like
right?
It's like the Bitfinex hack. I will never let that go until they come out and say like, here's what happened. Here's like, do a post-mortem on the Bitfinex hack. Do a postmortem on the Bcash launch.
Right?
Because it was unbelievable what they did.
Bitfinex hack was what, 116,000 Bitcoin or something like that?
I think it was like 60 million at the time. I think it was 60 or 160 million. It wasn't that much money. But it was, at the time, it was a lot of money.
A significant amount of Bitcoin, though,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Because it was like the price was at like 500 or something like that, right? It was 2016, right?
It was...
It's probably like 700.
Yeah, I just know I can visually see it on the chart, but I don't know the price. I'm such like a visual person. That's another reason why I think I've done so well with charting. Like I'm just super visual.
Yeah.
Like photographic memory type thing. Yeah, but these companies need to answer for these issues. Like they're just these open scars that are never healed, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was getting DMs from like people in San Fran, like who weren't working at Coinbase, like that were on product teams, and were like, yeah, the Coinbase. There were some people at Coinbase like telling us that they were going to launch Bcash. Like there was definitely some inside shit going on there.
Yeah.
And it was because you had the launch coupled with like the CNBC fast money like pump. It was just a very weird like coordinate. It seemed very coordinated. Mm-hmm. Actually, it was terribly coordinated, but it seemed coordinated.
Yeah, they tried to really do something.
Yeah,
to like start with a bang.
Yeah,
and I don't know why.
It ran up to like 9,000. Like at one point, like somebody paid 9,000 for Bcash. I'm sorry.
And that's back to like this thing. We have too many pairs, not enough. The order books are shit. Like,
yeah, you fucking launched that market without a fucking order book. Yeah, that's why
the stupidity level maximum. And then people argue with me about charts, and I always tell them, look, like things happen on order books that you don't necessarily realize when you see it on the chart. Like, which is one reason I'm like lenient on drawing like lines through wicks and things like that. Like sometimes the order book is just trash. It's the reason why we went up to 20K. The order book, I don't know if you were watching Coinbase at the time, but it was moving like $100 every few minutes.
Yeah,
because there was nothing for sale. Like that's what happens like at the top, I guess. But there was no market maker doing anything to mitigate that problem.
It'll be interesting to see. Like I've always been saying, like Bitcoin's going to hit the scene in earnest, like when there's a huge geopolitical situation or a currency crisis, and the liquidity crunch that happens when an event like that occurs it's going to be fucking scary. I don't plan on selling any of my Bitcoin if that happens. Like, yeah,
this latest, so I write for Brave New Coin. Shout out to Brave New Coin. And I try not to. So I try to all the content I create. I try to make it something that I want to read, that other people want to read. Right? Mm-hmm. Like I don't really know anything about anything, but I think I have a good grasp on like
what interests people.
Right.
Yeah.
Like make stuff interesting. So like this past week, like the news in general has been slow. So I always like to write a little bit of fundamental analysis, a little more about technical analysis. But I was trying to think like what do I write about this week. So I just went through like all the countries and all this stuff that's going on. And it's like there are these trade deals that are falling apart, all like TPP and NAFTA.
Euro's falling apart.
Eurozone's falling apart. Italy's falling apart. Greece is still in shambles. There's the tariffs on
steel.
Tariffs on steel. Tariffs on China. There's reciprocal tariffs. There are all these open issues. It's like I don't ever remember a time where it's been this crazy. Maybe it's just because I'm like plugged into it all. I don't know.
There's a lot of Tinder out there. No, it's pretty heavy. And then like the
unpredictability of like the Trump administration period, like
there's a lot of chaos out there right now, which leads to volatility.
Brexit, everything.
Who else is trying? Somebody else is trying to. I don't. Is there another referendum in another country? I think Italy, right?
Italy. There was a giant thing recently.
Yeah, they went through a referendum. But like Germany, so for you freaks that don't know how the Eurozone works, the Eurozone got together basically to create a free-flowing economic, like where people could basically migrate from country to country and work without having to go through like visa stuff. Mm-hmm. Correct? Am I correct in saying
I assume.
Yeah. And
it makes sense on paper to me.
Exactly. So there's a difference. So there's a Eurozone, then there's the Euro. So England was in the Eurozone, but it used the pound. It did not use the euro. Mm-hmm. So there's two things. There's the economic group, the economic consortium, and then there's the currency there's a currency part to it too. So it's two parts. You can be in the Eurozone but not use the euro.
But they also have like a law piece to that, right?
Yeah, there is.
Like there's a Eurozone like litigator or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why Brexit. It's like, fuck off, you're controlling us, you're in Brussels or wherever the fuck you are.
Exactly. So that's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
Like Germany, being the economic powerhouse of the Eurozone, drives a lot of decisions, and people are starting to get pissed off about that. And Germans are starting to get pissed off as well because they have to basically compensate for worse performing economies. So they're spending their tax dollars to help out people in Italy and Greece. So there's just like a lot of conflict, and it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. This Eurozone experiment might not pan out well.
It's like if there was a NAFTA coin. Like it's the same thing. Like everybody would be pissed off that we're paying for Mexico. Like I think we benefit as consumers from cheaper prices from NAFTA, but in general, I think NAFTA is just a disaster for everybody. It's like TPP. Like how free trade just doesn't work. I don't think. Like because all the jobs get sent elsewhere, right? Like that's what happened with Mexico. Everybody went. Companies went to Mexico. Yeah, and as they should, like do what's within the confines of the law. Like I don't blame them, but
go find the lowest means of production.
Exactly, like path of least resistance, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if we had a NAFTA coin, like I couldn't even imagine
what it would be like.
It would be insane,
right?
Because like you have Canada with oil, like their currency's pretty much tied to oil, from what I know. Yeah, so it's all the world. In my mind, the world is like you said, there's a lot of tinder. It's pretty dry. It's like it's ready to go.
Yeah.
You know. So we'll see, but that's another reason to be hedged at least a little bit into metals. Or I'm not a big metal guy personally. I like the silver chart. Silver looks really good to me. It's like 2x from here, but
our boy underscore TM3K, big silver guy.
TM3K,
big Zcash guy, big silver guy.
Yeah, he, I think he's like big into drugs, whatever. That's fine. But it's recently made me like think about drugs and trading again, because how that affects people in general.
We're talking about cocaine in particular, or
just anything like uppers, downers, mood stabilizers. So for me, I have this thing that's similar to RLS. Like when I sleep, my legs like move a lot. So they gave me like this dopamine agonist, and what dopamine does is upregulate your like wanting for risk, basically. And they're like warnings, like it may cause gambling addiction, things like that. So like when I take that, I have to be cognizant of like what I'm doing trading wise, because I definitely was taking on more risk.
Really?
Oh yeah.
It's crazy how the chemicals in your body can really drive these.
Yeah, but like caffeine for like an upper for me works really well. If you're on Provigil, Nuvigil, have you heard of this?
No.
So the army like developed it, similar to like it's a similar stimulant to methamphetamines, but it doesn't give you the like jitters, you know?
It's like Adderall, basically.
Kind of. It's really hard to describe, at least for me personally, they give it to me because I like borderline narcolepsy or something, but it's hard to describe the feeling.
I'm pretty sure my brother's narcoleptic.
It's hard to describe the feeling other than like I've never felt more awake than when I was on Provigil, Nuvigil. I don't know, like it's just like this vigilance thing. It's like, it's not hypervigilance. It's not like jitters or anything like that. It's just like you're really aware and like, I don't know.
In the moment.
Yeah, so a lot of like executives take it. A lot of like stock people take it. It's really good for crypto because it's 24/7. Like you're making trades at 3 a.m., 6 a.m. Like you're up. Like for me, the days of the week are meaningless. Everybody's like working for the weekend, right? But I'm like, I don't really, the clock is whatever for me because I'm just up all the time.
Is there better trading like during Asian market time, Western market time? Like what's better? What's a better trading time?
So on Thursday, Friday, again, the days of the week, I don't even know what's going on right now. But I just gave some talk to people in DC. We were talking about trading in TA, and somebody asked me about this. And so in Forex, it's a known thing. It's called kill zones, where basically like all the markets open at specific times around the world. So markets move based on who's awake.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So you have like US, London, Asia, all these markets that slowly roll open, and you can see it on the chart. Volume goes up in Forex. So in crypto, definitely like sometimes Asia will move the market. Sometimes the U.S., which has been predominant lately, will move the market.
I think that'll change with the ICO cool down here. Well, at least more Westerners being wary of getting into ICO games.
Yeah, but like the laws are, the laws exist, but they're not being enforced. I feel like the SEC has the ability to go after the low hanging fruit scammers, that are blatant and obvious, like Paragon and
Titanium. Did they just take down, or what was it?
I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
But in general, like anybody can buy anything they want whenever they want. Like there are ways around everything.
Yeah.
In crypto,
if you have a VPN and access to Binance, you're okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you'll see that in crypto though. Like you used to see it in a lot more when the Chinese exchanges were active. More so now, or more so then than they are now. But you'll definitely see like U.S. hours. Even on Friday at like 4:30, past 4:30, you'll see like a giant uptick in trading volume. Who is trading at 5 o'clock on a Friday U.S. time? Like my guess is these stock people, right?
Get off work and
go
trade. Damn.
And you'll see the same thing at 9:30.
Well, it's crazy. You're seeing like a lot of people, like some dude just left a Goldman. Like he had the opportunity to become like C-suite level at Goldman. It was just like, I made too much money in crypto. Like I'm gonna go trade that.
Yeah, it's
drawing talent.
It is. It's like the brain drain of the olden days of finance. But it's the brain drain to crypto versus just to finance and stocks in general.
Yeah.
And I always said to myself, I always poo-pooed any brain drain away from, because I tried to do medicine obviously, but so I tried to be a functioning member of society, right, to give back. But then you're in it, you're here, and it's why would you do anything else? Because it's so lucrative, it's so loose with your time as far as what you want to do, put into it. Most of the days I honestly feel like I go out, I'm shaking the money tree. It's honestly that insane how easy it is sometimes.
How does this change you? How does this change your perspective on life? Like you said, you've taught yourself. So let's talk about that. You're a biology major, thought you were going to be a doctor. You self-taught yourself how to trade.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like you're doing well.
It's going well.
Has crypto liberated you?
Yeah, because any other job is just not the same. The other part of it is you're by yourself. And it's
right.
the lows of trading. I've never experienced anything lower than the lows of trading. Anything higher than the highs of trading. That's another part of the addiction that's coming out now a lot with people, gambling addiction. But which I can totally see, because the highs and lows are uncomparable to anything,
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely liberated me from working with shitty teams on jobs. Why bother?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's changed everything. It's changed my life dramatically. Yeah.
Overall benefit?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody. It's going to a 9 to 5, being stuck in traffic.
Well, that's the other crazy. So Bitcoin's an emerging asset class, and a lot of money is to be made when a new asset hops on the market. It doesn't happen very often at all. Sometimes it takes millennia for a completely new asset to show up.
Yeah, somebody's comparing it to Egypt when they created some sort of money they created. I don't know, but
yeah, it's probably...
It's like the birth of fiat currency, but the birth of the next...
I would say it's like the birth of when people figured out that you could burn oil for energy. That was probably the last huge... I'm trying to think in my mind here. I could be wrong, but I can't think of anything other than combustible, people finding out that oil is combustible and usable for energy. It's an innovation on that par, and they don't come around that often.
Yeah, I was listening to Freakonomics or some podcast, and they were talking about uncertainty versus risk, and how risk most people can calculate, but uncertainty nobody can calculate. You can calculate it, but most people can't calculate it very well or easily. So uncertainty is where the money is. These new industries, if you look at how all the railroad people got rich, it's there were businesses that just were created out of nowhere that no one knew was going to go anywhere, and then crypto has a lot of parallels to that for sure.
Yeah, and what I wanted to jump into is that it's created a lot of people with fuck you money who are able to be I can do whatever I want, and it gives people courage, Kevin Pham courage to talk about
Kevin Pham.
to talk about.
He's a funny guy.
How is but it's true. It's
I call him the militant Bitcoin maximalist.
That's a good description. Kevin, if you're listening, You need to get to New York. We need to get you in the studio. We're keeping our shirts on this podcast, though.
I'd like to meet him in real life as well, just because he's so
persistent.
Well, persistent, abrasive is another way to put it.
Abrasive, yeah.
You know, I kind of agree with some of the stuff he says. I kind of don't, but it's good that someone's saying it. I don't know.
It's a shtick. It's a shtick. That's what people have to realize.
Yeah.
Like, I have never spoke to him about whether or not it's a shtick, but in my mind, it's like Dave Portnoy, and then Dave Portnoy is a shtick. Like the dude who runs Barstool.
Okay. I was like, who's that? But okay.
But like, it's a shtick. Like, he is intentionally being abrasive. And I would actually argue like he is doing a good thing because it's making people think about uncomfortable truths that a lot of people want to avoid. But it's better to you would call him a Bitcoin maximalist militant. I think he refers to himself as a white blood cell.
That makes sense then.
Trying to rid the world of the cancer growing on Twitter.
Yeah. So when you're trying to like build an audience or like content creation or whatever, like YouTube, you wanted to talk about, it's for me, what I learned is like it's all about like keeping in your niche. So carve out a niche for yourself, figure out whatever that is, and like sort of stay in your lane, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Shoot from the hip, stay in your lane, speak from the heart. You know. And you'll find that like, yeah, if you're creating value, people will listen. And one of the reasons why I started writing and started doing YouTube is like I was just seeing so much garbage out there. I couldn't just like sit idly by anymore. And I had to contribute to the conversation. Yeah,
let's jump into your YouTube channel. When did you start it? You have like 21,000 subscribers now, I saw?
Yeah, I don't really pay attention too much, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I researched for this podcast.
Okay, right, research. Okay. Not for me to sound like super humble, like, oh, I don't pay attention to that. YouTube, 2016, something like that.
2016?
I think. And if you watch my early videos, they're all shit. Shouting in the wind, like just terrible audio. Don't worry about it, you know? Like,
I couldn't even breathe the first episode of this podcast. Like, I had a script written for this podcast for the first one. It was terrible.
Yeah, that's how I started with videos too. Like, I had a script. And then you just realize, like, just be yourself.
Yeah.
And you're good, man. Like, anybody.
And that's the thing, because, like, the space is so wide open right now that you can find very, like, niche. Like, this is my niche podcast, talking to smart people. Like, I found my niche. I have the newsletter as well. I shit post in the morning to everybody. But yeah, if you find your niche, there's so much opportunity in this space in particular. If you provide value, like that's the thing. Like we're on board. Like this is a completely new market. People are becoming more and more curious about it. More and more people want to learn, and there's only so few sources out there. So if you can become a source, like you were saying, like you have these Telegram communities and these small communities, and that's just only going to get more prevalent. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity when it comes to education.
Oh, for sure. And there's value in like sharing with people as you're learning too, which I'm seeing a lot more of now than I did a few years ago. Like me, like when I started trading, I could have done something, but the other part of it is I'm seeing people who are trying to get this audience where they like don't deserve an audience, or they're just trying to like reap in those ICO reviews and ad revenue.
Ian Bielma, is that his name or whatever? The dude who had his private keys.
Ian Bellina. Suppleman, you know, I mean, these people, I don't know. I haven't met them. I'm sure they're decent people. I don't know. But just viewing what they do, because I've gotten on YouTube and like I'm part of like the meta conversation around what YouTube is and does and like the ad apocalypse, all this other crap. I'm super interested in just because I'm a part of the community, sort of. So when I see like all these crypto channels that are popping up just to do like ICO reviews and stuff, it's just like, ugh, you know? It's like, I'm not that. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't know.
No, and that's, again, going back to like, I don't like when people, like, I don't know what to say I don't like. I was just like, I'm not the type of person to be like, oh my God, I hit 10,000 followers. It's like the people that like just hop on the scene, like want to talk about ICOs and show their blockfolio every day, or people just want to be popular. They're not really providing meanable content at the end of the day.
Yeah, but a lot of people get drawn to that.
Right? It's easy.
They don't realize that that's noise and not the signal.
That's the hardest part when you get into the space, is finding the signal. It takes years. It took me years. I was a Vericoin maximalist, remember?
That's right. Yeah, and it's getting harder because there's lots of fracturing, like we talked about
Yeah.
with the communities.
Yeah. The Satoshi Nakamoto Institute even had a fracture. We've got feuding Bitcoin maximalists. Like even within Bitcoin maximalists world, there's feuds. Should you be the index? Is Bitcoin maximalism the Bitcoin index, the Bitcoin and its forks index, or is it BTC in particular?
Mm-hmm.
The raging debate.
Well, anybody can fork. Like if I fork right now, and I sell you one coin for $10 million, then we can make the market cap 10 million times the number of coins. Like, so the whole percent Bitcoin's what is it called?
Index? Oh, the
percent of the pie of Bitcoin.
The market cap dominance.
Yeah, market cap dominance. Like that's just a garbage metric because anybody can create anything.
Let's talk about that. Bitcoin's losing its dominance.
So you can curate it. If I that has value. I think like if you curate it and say let's include Ethereum and some other shit. I don't know. Like you make some metrics, whatever. But you can't just throw everything in there. You know.
Yeah, I think that's what on-chain FX is trying to do. Is bring more signal to that.
Yeah.
Type of indicator. It's interesting, but I would argue that like Bitcoin is the only blockchain that like does what it markets that. It does what it marketed it would do out of the box, which is enable peer-to-peer, censorship-resistant, distributed transactions.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen any working dApps that like are being used on the world computer. And then beyond that, like maybe does like Litecoin, would you consider that like a working, like it works, yeah, but the network effect isn't there.
Yeah, I mean Litecoin's like the test net for Bitcoin, right? Like they got SegWit first, they got whatever else first. People
even get pissed off when you say that about Litecoin.
Yeah, I know they do, but
it is a test net. Yeah, you're a big proponent of that, aren't you?
What?
That Litecoin is a test net.
I'm not like a proponent, but it's just like that's what the way it is. I mean,
yeah.
Like you said, like Bitcoin is, I don't know. It's the one and only, right? There will never be another one ever. Even if it goes to zero, there will never be another Bitcoin.
I think if Bitcoin goes to zero, like this whole space falls to shit for at least like a decade, maybe. I don't think it will go to zero, but like it would very much damper the space because I think it has to succeed for the rest of the space to succeed, right?
I think so. I'm on board with that. I think the scammers need to be put in jail. Like there needs to be more of that because I'm still seeing way too much of that.
Yeah, it's pretty brazen. It's very brazen, and that's like I had Matt Corallo in here last week, and he was saying like I could easily like profited off a bunch of stuff, like being an advisor to stuff and stuff like that, like. It's not like, again, like you said, like it gives me like an icky feeling. It's like I don't want to be associated with it. Because again, and I talk about this a lot on this podcast, this is a long-term reputation game.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
There is going to be rapture one day.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to come.
Yeah, because there's Marty, the brand, there's Carbonactum, the brand, and nothing is faster than trust. And as soon as you lose that, it's gone.
Right? Exactly.
Unfortunately, in crypto, a lot of people are forgetful about a lot of things that happened years ago, months ago, you know, and these new people just it's like a wave, you know, when the wave fills the beach, the wave comes out when they're the scammers and then it comes right back in.
Well, we got into a Brian Kelly debate with some people like last week or a week ago, like remember when he was pumping Nautilus coin on Fast Money?
Yeah.
Like he should know better than to be telling people how to buy Ripple at $3.
But they keep doing that though. They pump Bcash, they pump Ripple.
It's like, but the argument is like, oh my god, but he's been such a great advocate for crypto. But it's like, has he?
It'd be funny to find out one day that they were getting kickbacks somehow to like promote that stuff.
Well, what's the conspiracy theory with Fast Money in particular? Is like the producer, her husband is like a Bcash.
Yeah, I mean that's a fact. That's not a conspiracy. One of the producers' husband, wives, I can't remember, is part of like the Bcash Foundation or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're always pumping it. And the funniest part about CNBC Fast Money pumping is that they use Coinbase charts and just draw like shitty lines on them, like lines that they draw with their finger.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's.
The point we're trying to make here is don't go to CNBC Fast Money for your crypto news. And
Or and just do the opposite.
That's true. Use the counter indicator.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole network's a counter indicator. Like Kramer's not really doing anybody a service either. So that's what that's what you should come to expect with CNBC.
I posted some article where they were like, the U.S. economy is unstoppable, right? It's like, uh-oh. That's not a good sign when you're seeing articles like that.
Go look up 90-day delinquency rate, freaks. They're on the rise again. And once they hit a certain point, all these debt derivatives go to shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary out there. And I would argue we have a less stable base than we did in 2008. If anything, we've only made the system more complex and riskier, and therefore more fragile to an extent. So I don't want to be like doom and gloom. Let's also caveat this with people have been calling like a crash of the economy for years. Like nobody knows when it's going to happen.
Right.
I would just, like we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of tinder there. It's just like, I don't see how you go forward without like some event happening.
Yeah, like in like the tax cuts, and I don't know the ratio of like stock buybacks to wage growth, but I'd imagine it's heavier on stock buybacks.
Yeah.
Like repatriation of money and blah, blah, blah.
Wage growth, and then you have CPI. CPI is a shit metric for inflation. Like if you look at real inflation, like you're talking about student loans, like these are things people need to buy, like loans, houses, healthcare, food. Mm-hmm. If you look at like food, energy, healthcare, tuition costs, the inflation has been insane the last like 2 decades. And this is where people are really spending money on. And then wage growth has been nowhere near, like, has not had the same pace of growth as these prices have. And it's very interesting because we're creating these very deflationary technologies where you can spin up something. If you know how to use software and write software, you can create a product for free basically and give it to the world, give utility to the world for free. So we have this thing where we're creating technologies that are basically depreciating prices. We're trying to increase wages and increase prices of everything, like externally that's not technology. And we're having a butting of heads, I would say, of differing, like, of deflationary reality from a tech perspective and a need to pay back debt, which is an interesting scenario we found ourselves in.
Yeah, and even on, like, going to these cities like San Francisco or New York City, because we're here, seeing these people who work in retail or fast food or restaurants, whatever. It's like, how do you make enough money to live here? Because like when I was in that industry, I worked in hospitality, like serving tables basically, in my youth. And
I was a busboy for too long.
And it's like, how do you support yourself, let alone a family, on that salary? I don't know, man. I don't know.
You don't?
Like after taxes, especially in New York City, like how do you live? I don't get it. Like that doesn't add up. Like I could barely pay rent.
Right.
If I lived here working at that job, you know?
Oh, don't even get me started on the rent here. I miss Chicago. Chicago, I paid like $400 rent in college. And here it's quadruple that.
Yeah.
Splitting it with 2 people.
Yeah. And I live in just outside of D.C. and it's bad. And it's only going to get worse because Amazon's probably coming to D.C. and then there's like 1 million people and then they all need places to live and blah, blah, blah. So it's only going to get worse in D.C.
Yeah. It's interesting. Well, real estate is a finite resource too. So that makes sense, like if you're getting a lot of people, but it's not fun to pay that rent.
No.
Especially if you're like you were saying, like a retail or fast food worker, like it becomes impossible.
The other thing is they have, like, these people have to live, they can't live in the city obviously because they can't afford the rent. Right. So they have to live farther away and then it takes longer to get to the jobs, blah, blah, blah. Like even in DC as it is, people are like doing these 90-minute commutes one way. DC
traffic. Let's talk about it. How terrible is it these days?
It's real bad. And nobody can drive because everybody's a transplant internationally or otherwise, and no one knows anything about anything. It's amazing how these people get licenses, but yeah, it's bad, man.
Yeah, because I used to live in Charleston from Philadelphia. I used to live in Charleston, and my dad for some reason was such a hardo, and instead of flying to and from Charleston to Philly when we visit family, we'd drive. And no matter if we're coming from Charleston to Philly and hitting DC like later in the night, or from Philly to Charleston hitting DC in the morning, traffic was always terrible.
Yeah, you could be driving 4 a.m. on the highway, and it's just like bumper to bumper. It's like just stupid. It's so stupid.
DC. How's the DC crypto community? You got Niraj down there. You got Coin Center down there.
We got Niraj. We got Desiree. Shout out to them. Coin Center. Shout out to Coin Center. It's definitely growing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whenever I meet people in person, I always feel like there's just a bigger audience online anyway. So it's like, why bother?
Yeah.
But it's nice to meet people in person.
Right? No, that's like one of my favorite parts about this community, if you will, is like meeting people in person.
Yeah. So it's growing.
It's very easy to have conversations. Like, all right, we already have like a mutual interest.
Exactly.
Just dive into.
Yeah. I mean, the community in DC is definitely growing.
Yeah.
It's not as big as SF, that's for sure. SF, I think, is focused more on like individual projects or like dApps and Ethereum and blah, blah, blah. But DC is interesting because there's a regulatory government thing going on.
Yeah,
everybody at these meetups is like lawyers or regulators. Like, that's why at the thing I was talking at, I was like thinking like I need to be careful of what I say because I don't know.
It could be a narc in the room.
I could be like a subpoenaed for something. I don't know. So it's an interesting thing because there's a lot of like professionals there, you know, lawyers and whoever else.
So how do you think this regulatory landscape plays out? You think there'll be a lot of forgiveness and then like a going forward, these are the guidelines?
That's the only reason why I like the Ari Paul conversation, because I agree with him on we need no gray areas in ICOs, crowd fundraising, whatever, because it punishes the good actors and gives the bad actors way too much wiggle room.
Yeah.
So when I hear, is it Jake Clayton? I think Clayton out of SEC say we don't need any new securities regulations. They've been working for X number of years, blah, blah, blah. Like, I get really disheartened when I hear that. As much as I'm not like a pro-government person, like seeing what we're seeing, it's like there needs to be something done.
Can we self-regulate though?
I don't know, because even if we have regulations here, everybody will just go elsewhere, which is basically what they've already done. You know, they're out of Switzerland, they're out of Singapore, they're out of some Cayman Islands offshore, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So even if we have regulations here, will it really do anything? Probably not.
No. Yeah, it's true.
It's just difficult to be a part of the community as somebody who's trying to like stay true, like true north, you know? It's like, I don't want to be associated with all this
strong
shit.
Like, it's like Ulysses and the Sirens. You got to tie yourself to the boat, and the Sirens are the altcoins and all these shit ICO projects.
Yeah, but then you and I get pigeonholed into these groups that we're clearly not a part of. Like when I see these articles from BI, Business Insider, like Zoe Bernard, for instance, writing these articles that are like shitting all over like libertarians and all these other people, and it's like crypto bros, you know,
baby getting thrown out with the bathwater type shit.
Yeah, and the articles on like New York Times, that article where it was like everybody's getting stinking rich except you, and these like bros wearing the ugly sweaters, which are pretty cool by the way, but yeah, it's like I don't identify with those people. I'm just like some dude, you know, like. I'm trying not to be a scammer. I'm trying to be like legitimate and blah blah blah. And it's just like,
well, that's why we need more Kevin Phams. We need more white blood cells just to publicly shame everybody. I think public shaming goes a long way, to a certain extent.
But then you have like the bots and everybody like defending. Like anytime I shit on IOTA, it's like I get all these bots after me. Like just it's really bad. IOTA specifically. I can't not get pissed about IOTA because it's such a garbage project and it just keeps going up.
I haven't even been following like altcoin prices. IOTA like hot right now?
I don't actually know the chart of IOTA right now, but like the chart, the coin was pumping on Bitfinex when the network was not working, when it was down. Like maybe there's some like game theory behind that as far as like people not being able to move stuff off Coinbase and Bitfinex, and there was some sort of like constraint on supply or whatever. But yeah, when I see that, it's just like, again, I don't want to be part of that.
Exactly.
It's just somebody recently was writing about like the use case for crypto is speculation. Like there's no better way to use speculative assets.
It's true. Maybe that's the way we bootstrap Bitcoin into mainstream or into a store value. You know, maybe we need to go through this shit. Maybe we need these shitty projects. Even
like Barry Silver, like greed and spec is what fuels everything in crypto, right?
Yeah. Still pumping ETC.
Yeah, that's the one altcoin I've actually lost money on. For the most part, I don't lose money on altcoins just because I'm super patient. But ETC, I was done. I sold it like for tax season or something. I was like, all right, this is done.
There's is anybody using it?
I don't think so.
No.
Again, they're trying to do these like airdrops. That's part of like this rote script of like trying to make drum up some PR and blah blah blah. But Calypso or Crypto, whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't think there's not enough users. Again, the UX isn't there.
And back to EOS, guess what they're gonna do? All these airdrops they're promising to people, like
about a year, or I don't know if it was a year ago, probably in the fall. I think I watched an interview. I think it was with Jason Calacanis, with Brock Pierce and Vinny Lingham talking about EOS. And they were saying, like, yeah, as soon as the mainnet launches, it's going to have 1,000 working dApps. And I was like, fuck you. No way.
Well, they have, like, this, like, $1 billion pool of money that they're, you mentioned it earlier, that they're selecting projects to promote, or VC, basically, you know. Yeah, again, back to EOS. Like, the proof-of-stake problem is, in their case, what is your reward? And it's just being able to use the network. So the reward stays within the network. Like there's no impetus or incentive if you don't use the network to prove to stake. So I don't know. Maybe it creates buy-in in a certain way. But
how much money do you need to be like a staking validator on EOS? Is it
I'm not sure.
Is it only the 21 validators?
Yeah, well, the 21 for sure, but you can, like, it's sort of like, I think it's like DPoS, or like it's a representative democracy where you put your money behind these people.
It's gonna turn out terribly. You can't.
We'll see, man.
You can't design like that's it. Like people like want governance so bad. It's like you can't design governance in these systems. It's emergent. Tezos, that's launching soon too, right?
Yeah.
When's that launching?
I don't know. I hope it goes to zero. Just like EOS. I mean,
we're all getting our tote bag soon, people. Be patient. They're coming out.
That was one I avoided.
And then Augur's shopping July 9th. I'm actually excited to see what happens there.
Yeah, I bought some Augur a while back.
Let's see what it does to the Ethereum network. Let's see if the Ethereum network can handle a prediction market.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if there'll be a lot of people using that either. Again, like, who the fuck can use MetaMask? Like, it's like something like that.
Yeah, it definitely there's a learning curve there.
Yeah. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah.
Do you have a parting note for the freaks or anything? Anything else you want to talk about before we leave?
What do I want to talk about? I don't think so. You know?
We covered a lot.
Just be cognizant of who you're listening to and what they're selling you, you know?
Yeah.
In general, for the new people, because there's a lot of people selling a lot of shit.
There's a lot of shit out there.
A lot of traveling snake oil salesmen who just roll around on various platforms and content and just try to connive their way into money, you know?
They make a lot of money.
Oh, they make a shit ton of money, which is why they're here. Like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Again, I'd like to think we're idealists, all right? I'm in this for sound money, to change the world for the better. I think we're going to do it.
I'm not in a cult.
I swear to God, we're not in a cult.
I'm doing the right thing, okay?
I say this in the mirror 5 times a day.
Yeah.
This is good, I promise.
Right.
No, but it really is. I don't want to take up your whole New York City day. Thank you for coming by, man. It's been fun.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for putting this together on the quick.
That was, real quick. Thanks. Shout out Zuki Chalak for hooking it up in Chicago. Because he tweeted, we should go on TFTC. I didn't even see the tweet that you're in town.
Yeah.
Until he added you and me. Yeah, you can find more about Carpe Noctem on Twitter at Carpe Noctem. Seize the night, people.
That's right.
I'm Marty Ben at Marty Ben on Twitter. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, rate, share it with your friends. Tell people that are looking to learn about Bitcoin about us. I also have a newsletter too. You can subscribe via the link on my Twitter page. Peace and love. Woo!